Hi everyone. So for those of you that have yet to meet, my name's Rachel. I'm the Global Community Manager for Supermums, and today I'm joined by Kristin Hanson, who is one of our senior Salesforce recruiters. And in this short video, we're going to talk about specifically what Kristin does in her role as a Salesforce recruiter, but also she's going to share with you the benefits of working with a recruiter, but also how parents should be selling themselves right now into jobs, and also the flexible benefits that companies are offering right now in the UK and the USA. So part of what Kristin does in her role for Supermums Consulting is she helps place Salesforce professionals into flexible, well-paid roles in the Salesforce ecosystem. I'll let her tell you more about exactly what her role entails and her background. And I think what's even more special about Kristin's journey is the fact that she actually was one of our previous Supermums alumni. So Kristin, you'd went through the Supermums admin training course. So do you want to just tell everyone a bit about your background prior to Salesforce, and then how you actually came into the ecosystem, and then what you do now as a Salesforce recruiter?
Sure, yeah. So I have about a decade of experience in recruitment and HR. I've worked for companies like Red Bull, Lululemon, and I looking to make a change. So actually, my wife and I were due to move to Spain just as the pandemic hit, and it felt like, not a good time to be making a transition to a country where, we're not 100% on the language in the midst of a public health crisis. So the pivot ended up being that we landed here in the UK. And it was a good time to hit reset professionally for me. So I had been looking for something that would allow me to be more than, what I would like to refer to as like a taxi driver from, daycare. I really wanted to be more involved as a parent and to find something that could fit around my life as opposed to me trying to fit my life around a job. Recommended that I look into Salesforce and into Supermom specifically. So the timing just kind of fit perfectly with where we were at as a family and where I was at, personally and professionally. So I was part of the September 2020 cohort. I underdid the training. I came to love both, the sales system, but especially the ecosystem. It's so supportive. All the people who are in the community are, just real champions, not just for Salesforce itself, but for one another. And that led me to feel like I could be successful, leveraging my previous experience as a recruiter, but simultaneously staying within the Salesforce world. So Supermums had an opening right at the time when my work visa went through, and it's, just feels like a great fit. It's a good fit for what I was looking for in terms of, flexibility and a really supportive team, and a team that believes in the power of remote work and the power of being flexible around parent schedules, and it's just been really fantastic ever since.
Yep. And it's great that you have that experience of like the sales, not only being a recruiter but going through the Supermums training as well. So can you tell everybody specifically, like, as your role as the senior Salesforce recruiter, what do you actually do? Like, what does that entail?
Yeah, so I like to think of it as sort of leveraging my Salesforce knowledge and the knowledge of the ecosystem. So, I think sometimes you'll encounter recruiters in the space who don't have a ton of knowledge of the platform, and, good for them for getting out there and giving it a try, but it can be really difficult, I think, to understand some of the nuance between positions. So, how do I go from an administrative position, or an administrator position rather, where I'm working with internal stakeholders and configuring, to how do I become a consultant, or what does it look like to be a project manager, or to focus specifically on the business analysis skills, and become a full-time BA, or to work my way up to architect. Like, each of those kind of steps has its own very specific sort of duties. And it can be hard to understand if you don't come from a background of knowing a little bit about the technology, and equally a little bit more about the ecosystem. Equally, I have 10 years of experience with internal recruitment. So the pivot to external recruitment has been really different for me. Equally, I bring, I think, a ton of knowledge about what it takes to succeed on the inside, and what teams and hiring managers are looking for on the inside. And I think that I really leverage that capability in developing relationships with our clients. So, I know something that people struggle with is like, well, why do I need a recruiter, right? Like, why would I want to work with you when I have no problem finding jobs myself? I think a lot of the benefit has to do with deepening relationships within the ecosystem. So, I don't just have a relationship with one or two employers, which you might be able to leverage, your relationship with one or two employers, but with many throughout the ecosystem, whether they're end users, whether they're consultants, and I think the journey for everyone looks different. And maybe now you have a goal to be, a senior, maybe you want to look at consulting roles. And so working with a recruiter, you have the opportunity to do that, to say, like, my goal right now is to earn X position, but my goal in the future is really to work on my skills toward becoming Y. And we, want to deepen the relationship, not just with you. If you are kind of like in a place where you feel like, oh, I'm not ready to look for a new role, but maybe in about 3 months or 6 months down the road, once I've completed X project, I'd really like to, look at what's out there, or look at the, roles in this area. We can put feelers out for you. We can kind of, keep you up to date with in the system or clients or what's happening, and put opportunities in front of you that maybe aren't right for right now, but maybe could be right in a couple months' time. And I'd say, that's one of the benefits. Another would be that we can help with all kinds of things. So not just like, where am I today and what am I a good fit for, but what can I be a good fit for if I just kind of acknowledge that I have some specific transferable skills that might make me a great fit for another role. I'm working with a lot of return to workers at the minute. So, moms who are looking for more flexible work, who are trying to get back into the ecosystem. And I'd say one of the things that they really tend to struggle with is feeling confident about going forward for a role, knowing that they have all the experience and the expertise, but that they're coming back to a place where they're not actually sure, like what skills they might be lacking in, or, they're just lacking confidence, pure and simple. We can help with that. Like, we can chat through with you, what are those skills that you have? What are you bringing to the table? Make you feel really good and solid about your experience, and leverage that, like, I know a lot of return to workers are like, oh, I used to make X, but I'm willing to take Y. And it's like, no, you don't need to do that. The ecosystem has grown. It's, you haven't missed out. Like, here are the ways in which you haven't missed out. Let's talk about those, and let's really leverage those in conversation with clients and in to make sure that people understand that you are incredibly capable. You can do this. Those are just probably off the top of my head some of the most obvious ways that working with a recruiter can be of help.
Yeah. And do you feel like, as a parent yourself, like you're able to then really confidently communicate, I guess, to an employer, like what these skills are that parents can bring to the table? Do you feel that is a benefit? You being someone who works for a mission-led brand that really wants to be the champion for parents being able to find those flexible, well-paid jobs. And what would you say, Kristin, like to someone right now who is a parent? And you've sort of answered this in your answer there, but what would you recommend would be the things that they should be doing right now to really sell themselves into jobs right now? Do you really feel there's a big demand from the Salesforce employers that they are looking for, the demand for parents for these roles? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. So one, I think a lot of clients and companies come to us specifically because they know that we're, focused on ensuring that opportunities are made equal for people. I have an example of an employer that I worked with just yesterday who we took a job from him, and he said specifically, like, I'd love to see some return to workers for this role because we are going to make it fully flexible. We're going to allow, whether it's early morning hours or late evening hours, we want whoever takes this role on to be successful, and we're willing, to wait to find the right person, the right personality, the right set of sort of transferable skills. And a lot of that is the ability to sell your transferable skills, you know? So yeah, when you say like, do I bring experience as a parent? It's not just do I bring experience, it's like what all parents bring to the table. Like you have to focus in and absolutely, you know, like know that you have this limited amount of time in which to do all of those things on your to-do list. You know, your productivity is skyrocketing after, you know, an experience being home with a child because it has to. So your ability to prioritize tasks and to delegate and to make sure that, you know, you're capable of getting the work done, people have come to understand like that's absolutely the case. So, you know, are you going to be there burning the midnight oil? Maybe not, but I guarantee you're getting the same amount of work done as the guy next to you who is, you know, whose productivity maybe isn't the same as you. As well, yeah, I think, you know, our ability to speak to these kinds of things is really critical. And like I said previously, you know, we can have conversations with candidates about how they might be able to highlight those in an interview setting.
Yeah. So would you
I hope
say
that answered your question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess it answers like the benefits of working with a recruiter, and also how parents can sell themselves into these roles is you're almost like the champion as the recruiter for that person to place them in that role and to help them really understand, perhaps maybe during the interview process, what their strengths are and how to communicate that. Because sometimes, you know, someone can come and they may have, I guess, all the criteria checkpoints on their CV, but it's, you know, the thing that people struggle with maybe is the interview process of how to actually confidently communicate, you know, here's the skills that I'm going to bring to the table. So would you say one of your key roles is really helping that person understand, you know, their superpowers, their strengths, and how to confidently communicate that during an interview process?
Yeah, I think you actually bring up a really important but tangential point, perhaps, is that, you know, as women, we tend to look at a job description and go like, oh, do we meet all of the criteria for this role? And I hate to kind of paint with such a broad brush, but it's true, you know, like there are tons of statistics that point to this fact, and that men will maybe go if there's like 30% of the criteria met. And as recruiters, you know, we have relationships with the hiring managers, so we can come to understand like what are things that we're really looking for versus what are things that we're really willing to flex on. And we can help you highlight those. So, you know, right now I'm working with a client who said, you know, look, the one thing that we need is CPQ experience. Like if they don't have that, that's to them. But outside of that, we're going to be flexible about the other clouds that they've worked in, or, you know, other third-party technologies that they're familiar with. You know, we just want a configurator who has that skill, right? And so it's like, okay, great. So I know then to highlight, like, you have strong CPQ configuration skills, and that's what you're going to be focused on talking about. But equally, you know, here are some of the other things that they're looking for. And I think it's so important that people recognize that, like, you know, just because you don't tick all of the boxes doesn't mean you're not a good fit for the role. And the more we can highlight that, the more we can bring that conversation to light, the better we all are going to be for it as an ecosystem. Because, you know, again, people who are missing out on opportunities to make more money or to gain flexibility because they're too afraid to put themselves forward for something. It's like, why wouldn't you? Like, a no is putting you in a no worse position off than you are right now. You know, as long as you can go together with confidence that you're capable of doing any role, that's all it takes.
Yeah. So would you say there is a real demand right now, or there is a real sort of awareness right now in the ecosystem where companies really are offering them those flexible benefits because they want the return to workers, as you said, both in the UK and USA. So in terms of, I guess, the roles that you've placed in the last few months, like, have you saw that, you know, employers now are really open to offering that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm working with a lot of end users, and a lot of them have expressed like a ton of willingness to flex on whether it's hours, remote, hybrid, you know, different types of availability, different types of, you know, like, again, skills that they're willing to flex on, and the acknowledgement that, okay, maybe they've moved away from certain technologies, but we can teach that. The other piece of it is that I actually advise companies and work with some of their senior leaders on ways to make jobs more appealing and more flexible. Like I think traditionally there are lots of companies who, they want butts and seats and, 40 plus hours a week. And that's kind of where they've held the line. And then they come to us and they say, well, we haven't had any women. And it's like, okay, well, problem number one, like, let's talk about this. But I think the key there is the willingness to listen on the part of those companies, to come to us and say, like, we really need your help, and to make substantial changes to their working patterns. And we have seen a lot of companies that are more willing to do that in the acknowledgement that, hey, we need to diversify our workforce, and the only way we're going to be successful at that is to implement some of these changes.
I love that. And I love, like, honestly, for me watching like you guys as a recruitment team, the fact that you are so passionate about the mission behind the work that you're doing, and really, being that champion for, women and parents to help them, get those flexible, well-paid roles within the ecosystem. And it's honestly amazing watching you guys all work together to really support all of these people into these roles and be the champions for them. So for anyone that's watching this, Kristin, how can they register with the Supermums consulting and recruitment team in order to check out the live vacancies that you guys are currently placing for, and just keep up to date with that? What would be the next steps for them to get in touch with you guys and just check out if there are specific roles that you're placing that they could be a good fit for?
Yeah, so I mean, the first step is to get registered with us. So just check out our website. It's supermums.org, and you can either click on the recruitment specific tab, or just go to supermums.org/recruitment. Equally, like, I'm on LinkedIn 24/7. So if you're watching this and you want to get in touch, you think like, hey, now's the right time to explore new opportunities, connect with me, follow me, send me a message, whatever works for you. But I'm more than happy to get in touch to both discuss opportunities that we have available now or opportunities to make pivots. I think another benefit of working with a recruiter is that there are probably opportunities available to you that you're maybe not aware of, because there's sort of the hidden talent where you might not realize that you're a great fit for a role or for a company, but once we speak to you and we uncover some of the maybe skills that are left out of your LinkedIn profile or your resume, but we know that you'd be perfect for X or Y company that maybe they don't have an open job right now, but they've expressed to us that look at candidates with that set of experiences. We have that kind of stuff happen all the time. So do get in touch if there's something that you like, oh, I'm not a fit for that, but I'd love to just know what else is out there. We can help with that for sure.
Amazing. What I'll do is I'll drop the link for both the recruitment website so that people can register in the comments of this video. And I would just say to anyone, I'll tag Kristin in the video. So if you have any questions for her, if you want to get in touch, then please feel free to reach out. But thank you so much for your time. That's been really, really helpful. If anyone does have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments or send either of us a message. But thank you so much for watching, and thanks for your time today, Kristin.